seismic reverberation waveform. They were able to look under the paws of the Sphinx, and they found a chamber there. And they say they haven't got into it yet. That's a whole other story. But anyway, these pyramids were found in Egypt. These ones are datable to 10,000 years. Check out this picture. This was taken during the Second World War by an American pilot that was lost over China. And he saw this pyramid, and he took a picture, and he brought it back home. He survived the whole thing and brought the picture back home. And everybody, you know, a few years ago when I would present that, people would say, oh, well, that one's iffy, you know. This could be a hoax. Well, okay, nobody believed him, except that the Chinese government in the last few years have released these pictures. Not only is there more, there's pyramids in Egypt, there's hundreds of pyramids in Egypt, in China. And the Chinese government actually got the farmers to farm on top of the pyramids so that they wouldn't be so apparent by satellite. And the reason why, so here's the poor farmer that got the job. The reason why they were doing that is because they didn't want the Western world to know about these pyramids. Why? Because the legends that comes with these pyramids is that the sun gods built them, and that the sun gods were blue-eyed, blonde-haired people. As far as the Chinese government looked at this, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people had to be Europeans. And the last thing they wanted was European people being responsible for some of the most ancient knowledge of the Chinese tradition. So they didn't want those pyramids to be known by the West. They did find the mummies of these blonde-haired, blue-eyed people in the high desert of China. Over 500 mummies were found. All very tall, absolutely not Asian people. And then you go to the forbidden city of China, the city that holds all the knowledge of the universe, all the knowledge of the sun gods. And at the entrance of the city is the Sphinx, the lion, which in both Egypt and Chinese tradition are the guardian of the knowledge. They guard the knowledge under their paws. And when you look closely at the paw, what do you find? A spherical intersecting pattern of the flower of life, which generates 64 tetrahedron grid. Guardian of the knowledge. Fairly old, but this section of China was largely rebuilt and fairly recent, you know. But it's all coming from very ancient tradition that's passed on orally throughout the ages. And that's why you find still the knowledge being present. Although the knowledge of the sun gods has been very, very confused and diluted throughout the ages. So when you go further into the Chinese tradition, what do you find? The I Ching. How many I Ching symbol is there? 64. And remember now, the yin and the yang we saw is a double torus. You'd be missing the geometry of the vacuum in the middle of singularity. But the 64 symbols of the I Ching gives you this. How? When I found this, I thought, oh, this is so sweet. It took me weeks, took me months to actually figure it out. I knew there was 64 symbols, but what did the symbols say? The symbols typically are arranged in a circle. The 64 symbols. Can you turn off your light a little bit so maybe you can see the symbols? Maybe not. They're here. There's 64 of them. And each of them are actually composed of full sticks and broken sticks. And each of the symbols are in opposition. So like 1 and 64, 2 and 63, they're all in opposition. And I realized, wait a minute, if you take 6 sticks, you put them in 3D space, which geometry would you get?
Tetrahedron.
A tetrahedron. That's the only geometry you can generate out of 6 sticks. But then why the broken sticks? Well, if you're following the code of the I Ching that tells you the sticks are in opposition, then you're gonna need broken sticks. Watch this. Boom, 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 boom. You see? You need broken sticks to do the polar opposite of the tetrahedron. They have to be broken because the sticks intersect.
Could you do that again with the light off so you can't see it as well?
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need lights, period.
Well, the video
The video
does.
does, you can see.
Boom, boom. Can everybody see this? You need a broken stick to go in between the other sticks to generate the opposite polar structure, which is given by the code itself. Isn't that sweet? And so you take the code, and I didn't have time to do the whole animation. I didn't finish on that. I will when I get better funding. You see, if you keep doing this and you follow the code, you're going to be able to do the whole 64 tetrahedron grid. Actually, after you finish the code of 64 sticks, of 64 code, each one making a tetrahedron, you will have made the 512 grid, which is the next fractal level from 64. So if you actually follow the I Ching code, which is the trigram with 8 first, and then the 64 hexagrams, right? And you generate the 512, then you follow the exact progression. Cool? So, do we have evidence of the sun gods? We do. You know, imagine again that you were to find a little bitty planet in the corner of the galaxy somewhere, and that bitty planet is not very evolved. Like, let's say you show up and they're like still in cave and not very involved. You'd probably want to try to help them along, right? So what would you do? you can't really come to